Hi everyone, I'm Lawrence, your host for today on Rock the Scale, a short podcast featuring the founders and operators building the future of e-commerce, fulfillment, and modern delivery. In this segment, we are going to focus on Africa. And today, I'm so honored to have Washington with us. He's the founder and CEO of PLAT-DEL from Kenya. Our guest today started out like a lot of people did in 2020, delivering meals during the pandemic to make a little extra money. But Washington Mageto turned that hustle into PLAT-DEL, one of Kenya's today's most quietly ambitious commerce platform. PLAT-DEL is a multi-service marketplace that moves food, gas, groceries, beauty products, and parcels all within one app. It already services more than 60,000 users today. So I'm so thrilled to have you here today with us, Washington, to share your story.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So, same questions that everyone wants to understand about you. So,
Yes.
what's your story? What led you to start PLAT-DEL in the first place?
Actually, when we began PLAT-DEL, we did not begin PLAT-DEL from a point where we were trying a side hustle or something. No. What happened? There's a friend of mine who had traveled to Japan, and he came back with an idea, and he was telling us we need to export avocados and the likes to different markets and the likes. And so, being very industrious, I went out, looked for this Hass avocados, premium fruits. Yeah. I got 240-foot containers of it, but then we were not able to actually ship these things. The processes of just getting licenses and walking through that entire bit was quite hectic. And so these fruits actually ripened while we were still with them, and we were unable to sell them. But then it got to me, how would we be able to get, a platform where we can be able to sell this particular fruit? A platform where I can log in, create an account, and immediately get approved and then sell. We didn't have such a platform in Kenya. We have many platforms, e-commerce platforms in the country, but that specific line of problem that we were having is what almost every other person in the FMCG is facing today.
Yep.
Right? So we thought, why not build this thing and then validate it? And so we started supplying meals because COVID hit us before we could be able to, get our product in the market. So we started with food deliveries, and from that it grew to there are people who wanted subscription system for the food, and then later on we discovered people's appetite changed, and so they wanted variety of different meals and the likes. So we decided to build that multi-vendorship, and eventually we ended up building what PLAT-DEL is today. An 11-tier multi-vendor system cutting across two different markets, Kenya and Tanzania.
Wow, fabulous.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
again a story of solving your own problem, and
Yes.
then you are the person that understands the pain the most, right? And then you then scale it up and realizing there's quite a number of people that are having the same problem, and then you are just solving it
Ab-
along the way. Awesome. So
yes.
PLAT-DEL now spends as I understand food, gasoline,
Yes.
groceries,
Yes.
beauty, and parcels. Why did you then choose to go multi-services rather than nailing, just focusing on food only after you started with the food in the first place?
There's this failed supermarket that we had in Kenya that was very interesting. It was called Nakumat.
Nakoma.
Their modus operandi, the way they used to operate was, their tagline was, "You need it, we've got it," And then they also had another tagline for all under one roof, right? So far in this country, we have quite a number of e-commerce platforms. There are those ones who are doing pick and drop. There are those ones who are doing food products only. That is Global, Bolt Foods, Jumia Foods, and the likes. Then there are those guys who are doing electronics purely, which is their forte and the likes. But then we discovered one of the things that a lot of people have a problem with is installing multiple applications for single individual use. So for those days you're not ordering a meal, what do you do with the application? So we thought, why not build one app that resembles a supermarket that people would then go in on a day-to-day problems that they have. And so that was the only cutting edge solution that we brought at that time. As we speak now, there are multiple other systems that we've added within the platform that then gives us an edge. There are people who want to buy FMCGs on a day-to-day basis. But then sometimes they don't have money to buy. So can we give them the credit facility to be able to allow them buy things, and then they'll pay back? So we got payment service providers to be able to power that bit, and then that bit now cuts the reliance on their own money. So they just deal with those people, and for us, we scoop the commissions. That's practically what we do.
Very, very smart. Very smart. And it sounded like, so there's one pain point demand in the first place, and you expand it out to other, use cases. And is your ambition to build it like a super app? Because the different geographical regions in the world, some may prefer to have a super app, some may not, right? So for example, I think certain countries like in US, you do not like have many of these super apps that can do so many things in one application. Yeah. So on your side, do you think your ambition will, want to expand to a super app that covers a lot more?
As we speak right now, we are currently testing a new feature that we tried adding into the platform, and we piloted it with one city. So what we did, we realized that we had more than 1,000 delivery riders within that particular city who are not then doing something when they are not delivering products, right? So since they're in our platform and they are not delivering products because the number of orders are not that significant, could we then be able to figure out a way to use this delivery personnel? So we built the ride-hailing bit on top of the same application that we have. So one side we have the on-demand orders, but then when you toggle on the other side, you have the ride-hailing bit, which now then would allow movements and the likes. And we're trying to figure out how that would work within the Kenyan ecosystem, based that a number of people use public transports. Here we call it matatu. So we are trying to figure out how they should work within that particular sector, just to allow people to be able to move on, one, the cashless bit, but two, the guarantee that you'll be able to find logistics that would move you from one place to the other. So we are trying to explore that super app bit, and I hope it succeeds, because I don't know how people would accept it or the acceptance level, but we've done a bit of research. On paper, we know people would need it, but now we need to know whether they actually need it in practice.
Yeah. And when you say matatu, is that like a train service, or is it more like a bus service?
Matatus are, I think I may need to show you at some point, but matatus are technically, they are buses, but much more, beefed up. They look nice. They have graffitis all over.
Oh, wow.
And they're very loud, but they're very, very interesting. They're very interesting.
Definitely sounds like something I want to try. And then, so you are trying ride-hailing bit as well. I think that's a smart move. Then I think it's just underlying eventually the kind of modeling, the routing and stuff will differentiate a little bit for sure, right? I mean, we can go into that a little bit more later on, right? So then coming back to delivery of food, gasolines, and all your current main business, I think one of the things you guys introduced was geofencing, right? Which is one of your very main important modeling. Your customers only see vendors near them, and just where do you get this idea from? What does it unlock for you?
Now, I looked at the pain point of some of our competitors, right? Because I've gone through their books, I've seen the reports they write on an annual basis. one of the biggest problems that was actually making one of them lose close to 16 billion. I think that's uh, about 80, 90 million dollars or so. What made them lose that kind of money was the fact that they would take products from the vendors, they would bring those products to their warehouses, and then they would sell. If the products are not sold, they have to return the products to the vendor, which was very expensive for the vendor because that was a bill of the vendor. That movement of product would be a bill that the vendor would pay. And then the wastage of that product, when it goes to the shelf or the warehouse, the lifespan of it reduces if it's not sold and brought back. Then for those high perishable goods, that would not really work well for them. So I thought every single thing that anyone would need in this country is less than 10 kilometers away from where you are, right? If you need a phone, there's someone 10 kilometers away who's selling that phone. If you need food, there's someone 10 kilometers away. So why not build it in a way that I would democratize that space, allow vendors to onboard onto our platforms, and then based on the vendor who's near to the user, because we go through that verification once we verify they're legit, provided you're near the user can choose to buy from you. Same concept we do. Africa is very interesting because we know the people we buy from. So if you find someone you're buying from on a regular basis and you see them on the application, high chances you will buy because you already have trust with them. So that was the idea behind it. So we're cutting the aspect of trust so that people can trust our platform by virtue that they see the vendors they know. Two, we were cutting the bit of shelf life of products. That means each vendor is a warehouse and we only pick the product when it's sold, right? And then the third bit was we were trying to cut that bit of delivery and payment structures because the other guys would pay you only if the product is sold and they would pay you only after 30 days post the selling of the product. And for us, we were paying you immediately the product leaves. So that's quite something when it comes to playing that game. So that's why we did that geofencing bit.
Very interesting, and then I like that you say they trust your platform, and at the same time they
Yes.
also trust because they see these are the vendors that they probably have been passing by on the maybe
Yes.
weekly basis themselves as well, right? So then they know that okay, this is legit. And sometimes if I were to order from online, sometimes I'm just worried that oh, this is not a very legit let's say restaurant, right? And then
Correct.
it may not even be something that I personally can verify that they are doing it very cleanly, right? So and of
Yes.
course, then going to your categories, yeah, it might actually be very similar. Cool, cool, cool. And
Correct.
and just wondering, so then how much of your delivery cost and speed advantage comes down to that geofencing location logic, right? Because it's like 10 kilometer, yes, you see, right? And how hard
Yes.
was it to get the geofencing right, done right, like every time?
Now we've used third-party platforms to be able to help us with this, but still there are those times when we have a bit of a challenge when it comes to the distance metrics and the likes. Yeah. But the whole concept of it, the whole end game behind this was for us to be able to reduce the amount of money our users spend when it comes to getting their deliveries. Hence why we give them the most nearest vendor to the farthest vendor. So if they choose the farthest, then they pay more delivery fee. If they choose the nearest, they pay less delivery fee. I know there's a bit where we would want to perfect it much more, but like I mentioned, we use third party, so we do not really have full control on most of the things that we would want to be able to achieve.
I see. So they're still not yet like fully customized to your
Mhm.
like 100% of your design, right?
Mm.
Of how you do the
Yes.
geofencing
Mm.
and stuff.
Correct.
Okay, okay. But
Correct.
at least
Mhm.
you your clients will be able to know which one is
Mm.
the cheapest based on the delivery
Absolutely.
distances, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
I see. And then what makes last mile delivery and e-commerce in Kenya operationally
Mhm.
difficult for you guys? And you know, is it addressing locations,
Mhm.
or is it the traffic jams, congestions, or is
Mhm.
it vendor supply or trust?
Okay. Now, I think we have a certain culture in Africa, particularly in Kenya,
Mm-hmm.
that really needs to be addressed. Really, one, a lot of things are disintegrated. Everything is just all over, so we don't know what is what. We don't have a structured pricing model, right? So, like for us, the pricing model we used for delivery was that we know most of the motorbikes we have in Kenya consume between 50 to 70 kilometers per liter,
Mm,
right? And based on the standard liter price that we have from IPRA, which is a regulatory body for energy here, then we can be able to map out 1 liter, the cost of it, and what it would cost for someone to move for a 10-kilometer
mm,
radius and the likes. So based on that, we know that at least these guys would be consuming between 8 shillings to about 20 shillings, depending on the size of the asset per kilometer.
mm,
So if that is the case, then we mapped ours to have a base price of this X amount of money, and then per kilometer charge of X amount of money, so that we are able to give them some profit, and we are also able to get some money
mm,
from the commission charge. So those are some of the problems we are having.
mm,
We don't have like a standardized way of pricing things.
mm,
Two, the other players in the market, they somehow adulterated the market, right? When they came in, they set up the prices quite high that it becomes very hard to convince someone that this thing should be delivered at this price, because we've already done the science behind it and we know this is what it should cost, right? So that bit of matching the prices becomes a bit hard. And
mm,
then there's a bit of political interference. There's also the other bit of license requirements. It's very expensive to run logistics, particularly in Kenya, right? I need almost 4 or 5 licenses, and they are quite costly, all of them. And they are run by different agencies,
wow.
different government agencies, and they take quite so long. Oh my goodness. Like you see, one license has taken us more than a year to get. The one I was
Wow.
telling you for ride hailing,
Yeah.
we are still not, we still don't have it, but we have an interim operating, agreement that will
Mm,
then allow us to test what we are testing. But you see, it's taking that long. And
mm.
then we segmented the country into counties. So we have 47 of them. In each and every county, you have to have a new license to operate there.
Oh
It's just
wow.
hectic. It's very
47.
hectic.
When you say 1 year, when you say 1 year for one license, I was like, yeah,
Yes,
that sounds about right, like in government efficiency, right? But when you say 47 of the
yes,
same, uh, sorry, I couldn't hold back. Yeah, it's going to be quite chaotic. Yeah, I can
it
understand. I
is.
can
It
understand.
is.
And
It
then,
is.
and then for your first problem that you were mentioning as a challenger,
Mhm.
mostly,
Yes.
it's about how do you measure, when the price is so dynamic, right? And
Mhm.
is it affecting you, as in your writers and then your platforms when recent days because of the war, the oil price is
Mhm.
actually going up, right? So does that actually
Yes.
making it more difficult to measure over time? Yeah,
It is quite crazy that the war in Ukraine and the one
Iran.
with Iran is really messing up quite a lot here.
Mm,
Uh, the prices, um, the prices of oil, that is petrol and diesel, they've actually skyrocketed, which has then now made things much more worse from where they were. Remember, they were bad by virtue
mm,
that things were not actually moving the way we wanted them to move, and the pricing structure was bad. Now
mm,
the war has added onto it, and it's quite quite unfortunate that we are unable to really stabilize our bit.
That's yeah, I think that's the problem that we have like worldwide right now. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully some kind of ceasefire peacemaking agreement can help us eventually. Yeah,
Yes,
so let's
yes.
hope for that one day. And then the
Yes.
second point that you mentioned, like
Mm-hmm.
it's about like the problem of this licensing bit, right? So
Correct.
I mean, while that's happening behind the scene, I'm just curious. So, what role do you think like the routing, mapping, and the location accuracy play in making the whole thing work? Other than the all those licensing stuff, which will take time, right? So then still there's
Yes.
routing and mapping and location accuracy that's still very. I'm not sure to you how important it is to you. Yeah.
Now, our system or our entire model of business is really dependent on proper mapping, right? Because for us to be able to actually adequately calculate how much it will consume for one product to move from this place to the customer, then we need to have that distance metrics properly mapped.
Yeah.
When there's also the other bit of it, routing, right? The shortest route to the place, and also the shortest route um, that is not traffic congested, right? So those two things are really critical for smooth operations of our system. So if by any chance, like currently what we're using, if by any chance we miss it by off points, and by the a number of our vendors are not, we are not able to find them on map. So we normally have to like drag those pins and then structure it, and it's quite a lot. It's quite a lot. If we could be able to do that, that we can be able to pick the pinned up precise location, then at least the pricing model would be a bit more easier to capture. Those are some of the smallest issues. And like I told you, Africa has, we have a long way to go, you know, we really have a long way to go. Especially when it comes to, you know, properly structuring some of the businesses. An example would be putting your business on the map, right? Just being able to map your business so that our system can pick it automatically. But also, if we do not have that bit, then we also need to have a way within our system that we can be able to map them without their manual input per se. So I think those are the small pain points that are really problematic. Currently, we have about we're almost nearing 400 vendors on our platform with multiple locations. There are vendors who have like 20, 30 different outlets and the likes. So we're
Yeah.
just counting them as one vendor because of one agreement. So 400 of these vendors with multiple locations, it becomes a bit hard to manually add this location.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes quite a lot of time. And so we are trying to figure out a way to move from that particular bit. So I
Yeah.
believe this would actually be really useful for us to
Yeah.
properly map.
And then
Yeah.
I suppose that as your platform scales, and we go from
Mm-hmm.
400 to let's say 1,000 of these vendors, then it becomes more
Yes.
painful, right? Because the
Yes.
more it's like
Mm-hmm.
let's say it's the same person that's doing this manual work behind the scene, then he has to do like
Yes.
two times or three times more. And
Yes.
any time that changes, the system changes, then the whole thing has to be taken up, a lot of times. Yeah, yeah.
Correct.
And I can see
Mm-hmm.
how important that would be as a
Mm-hmm.
routing comes into play, and you need the data to be accurate in the first place. Yes, yeah.
Correct.
And
Correct.
then what about your customers, right? At the end of the day, I mean, you offering. I see that you're also offering like mobile applications, right? So is
Yes.
that is that one where the clients, your customers, will be able to order the food and delivery on the app. So how important is it then for your end customers to see their delivery with live tracking or accurate
Mm-hmm.
ETA timings of, let's say, how many minutes to arrive for the orders on a mobile app?
Well, it has taken us a lot to build that bit of trust, because one of the things that happens here is that people want to be involved in their stuffs on a general level. So now, if a client orders something on an application, they'd want to track it. They'd want to see end to end. In as much as they trust that we will do it, in as much as they trust that this thing will
Hello, hello. I think.
No, I'm back. I'm back.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
apologies.
yeah. No worries. I think we lost you for a bit. Uh, and sorry, you just cut halfway. As you were saying, like, yeah, about your clients and customers, how they, yeah,
Yes, the clients would actually want to be involved in different things that
yeah,
uh, we deliver to them. So they would actually want to follow the process of the orders.
mm,
We built this using a bit of sockets. And of course, we did that live tracking bit, but it's not as smooth as we would want it to be.
mm,
It's still not as smooth as we want it to be. We have a very ambitious idea on how we can be able to have a 3D, tracking mechanisms. I
okay,
don't know whether you've seen that aspect that we have on Google Earth, where you can 3D move things on one particular place. So we are trying to see whether there is any provider that can be able to give us that live tracking bit.
mm,
Live tracking in the sense that we can be able to see streets, movements, etc., just to give that user experience that they are part and parcel of that order.
yeah,
So we without it consuming a lot of our resources, really. So
mm.
if it's possible, then we may need to, be able to capitalize on that.
Yeah. I think that's very important, right? Because that give people trust. Sometimes when I
Yes.
order the like ride hailing apps, when I don't see the
Mm,
number of minutes, I feel very anxious
mm,
I myself. And I think that's very relatable
mm,
for every of your customers. And then you understand them very
absolutely.
well. And that's super like nice of you. Yeah. And then the other thing that you do is that you hold your payments
Mhm.
in escrow until your orders are
Correct.
complete, right? So you basically you then build that trust into the payment layer.
Correct.
Why do you make that decision? Was it also your personal experiences?
Well, the whole reason as to why we built that particular bit was because of the trust level.
Mm,
One of the things that has happened in the Kenyan market is that we've had a lot of applications that came in, and then they were really they weren't really properly manned, meaning anyone would just sign up and anyone would pretend to sell something and then
mm,
end up conning people and the likes, right? So to be able to cure that bit, we decided that we will actually hold the money, and that means the user will trust us with that money, and the vendor will also trust us with that money, in that we can hold it on your behalf. If you don't get whatever you had bought, we can return it to you within your wallet, right? And the vendor also will trust that if they release a product worth 60, 70,000, which is their products that would go for about $1,000 or so, if they release such a product, they would know that they have their money, right? Without them really receiving that money, they know that their money is somewhere.
mm,
And making that we are accessible. They both know where we are. They know where our offices are. They know that we are regulated, and they know that they can be able to track us. Then makes it a bit more easy for each to trade. So the whole essence as to why we built that wallet was to be able to create that neutral ground where both parties can trust each other by virtue that they trust us.
Yeah, yeah. That's all the
Mm,
trust process on both ends. And I
correct.
guess you also vet your vendors, right? Do you
Yes, we
like
do.
check the certifications and permits before they can join? Trying to have 400 of
Mm,
them, and how
mm,
central is that quality control important to your
mhm.
brand?
Well, they are not just 400. There are 400 parent companies, and then
I
there are
see.
like several others
More
that are trickling through.
branches, yeah.
Um, so every single vendor and every single vendor location needs to have, like I told you before, we are licensed. So you need to have a particular license. If you're a food vendor, then there's a food handling certificate, there is a county council license, there is those nitty gritties, yeah. So what we did within our platform was to integrate, and this we did recent, was to integrate with government agencies in that we can be able to cross-reference these particular licenses across different people, right? Uh, and then at least now we've automated that bit, but initially it was manual. So we had to go through these documents manually, counter verify whether the name is matching the owner's name and the registration details, which was quite a lot of work. It was. Yeah, but we have to vet vendors because that's what then builds trust.
Yes. Yes, then
Mhm.
you won't run into issues like what you described earlier, of somebody who just
Correct.
con it and people and just left, right?
Yes.
And now,
Yes.
because of the way how you guys build trust and then the brand, you've
Mhm.
grown to more than
Mhm.
60,000 users, right? And then now
Correct.
it's in two countries. So
Correct.
what broke first, as you say, while you're growing so fast, and how did you fix anything
Mm.
along the way as certain things start to break because of the scale?
Well, a lot of things have actually messed up. In building such a level of business, we messed up quite a lot.
Right.
Uh, I think the first time we actually were in one of a big mess was in 2021, I think so, where the food supplies that we were supplying to different people were not properly handled. They weren't properly handled, and there was that bit of food poisoning and the likes, which was
Oh, no.
quite bad. Very unfortunate that uh, we had a lot of contracts terminated and the likes. The second bit was poor financial bits. Yeah, you see, when you're making too much money and you don't have like a proper structure, you tend to just do anything virtually possible. And so we made some very stupid decisions of acquiring assets instead of being assetless as we had initially designed the system to be. The system was to be asset. We do not own any asset. Vendors own the products. Delivery riders own the delivery assets, and then we are the bridge. So we ended up acquiring assets on asset finance, which was a stupid idea. It was. And eventually later on, we needed to have, the bit of a team, right? You can't run such a growing company as a one-man show. Before to run it as the CEO, which here we define as Chief Everything Officer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Your practical finance person, your the social media person, etc. So the bit of setting up a team was something we just did it for the sake of doing it, but then we didn't realize that there's like a process of getting a team. So that was a bit of a mess. And then we eventually got investors. I'll tell you, that was the worst idea. That was that was the worst idea of them all. So now, after all that, when you go down, yeah, the only way is up. So we've rebuilt again. We've rebuilt to the level where we are now. We have different systems. We had to split different systems, create different operating procedures, different structures, and the likes. Yeah.
Wow, it's such a great story. We'll leave the VC
Yeah.
story for another day. But I think
Mm-hmm.
after all, as
Mm-hmm.
founders, what don't break you, make you stronger, right? And that's
Absolutely.
making your current operations is what
Mm-hmm.
it is today because of all the mistakes we have learned in the past, right?
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
since you operate at the intersection of logistics, commerce, and
Yes.
fintech, a little bit of that as well,
Mm-hmm.
how do you keep all
Mm-hmm.
three coherent in one platform? Yeah, it must be a lot of efforts and understanding, designing into the whole picture, right?
Well, I failed to introduce a bit that I am a BSc computer science degree holder. So I double up as a CTO and the initial developer for the system. Yeah. One of the things that we wanted to do was to be able to base our benchmark based on industry practices, right? We have different. Remember, the solution we are solving is that we have disintegrated things. We have everything all over. So we are trying to figure out how to merge this thing while still maintaining how we operate as a people.
Mm,
There's a way we think, there's a way we reason. So if we are integrating the delivery logistics bit, how do we reason within that line? What's our model of operations within that line? So in Kenya, the most preferred or the most um, energetic or highly moving logistics asset are the pikipikis,
mm,
which is a motorcycle, right?
yeah.
So our thoughts were, how do these people reason and how can we add them within this particular platform for them to get end to end? Good thing there's a bit of inroads with other competitors. The big tech giants who came into the country did a lot of groundwork
Mm,
in setting up the foundation for most of our things. So whatever we are innovating into our platform is just making better what does not exist in other places, and then innovating in terms of service provision, um, what is not offered, and then we offer that bit. But as we speak within the platform, it's very easy to navigate through things. We simplified it to the point where you can just find what you're looking for by just you'll just find it there.
mm,
You don't need to be savvy to find this thing. So now the biggest bit of what we've done is now on the back end bit, where now
mm,
we have different logics, different tech specs, etc. We just, for the user, we simplified it.
mm.
Yeah.
It's so nice of
Yes.
to know and at the same time, so I myself also bachelor of
Mhm.
computer science, so it's so nice to
Yes.
have someone who also understand both the business and also the technical beat,
Yeah.
and how important it is to have a very robust back end, right, that
Correct.
simplifies things,
Mhm.
and eventually that
Mhm.
translates to good user experiences, and then the trust
Correct.
of your system for making sure things are running efficiently. Yeah. And
Correct. Yeah.
how are you thinking about then the affordability for customers while keeping
Mhm.
the current model to be working for your vendors and riders? Yeah, is that
Mhm.
affordability also something that you constantly think of it in your top of head?
Well, a lot of people really buy things. We have two categories of clients or people who purchase things on the platform. There are those ones who are focused on quality,
Mm,
right? So there are those ones who they really don't care about the price of whatever you're selling. And then we have those other group, the second tier, that compares what you're offering vis-a-vis what they can find at the supermarket,
mm,
and then they weigh the aspect of, if this were to be brought to me or I go to get it, which one would be easier for them? So those two category of persons or clients are the people we really spend a lot of time in satisfying. So when it comes to price is a very big deal for this second category.
mm,
So if the delivery cost go low, and then the product, they would also get it on a percentage off, on a discounted price. Then they would really be happy, as opposed to walking into the supermarket and the likes. So those are some of the things that we try doing. Whenever we get a vendor on our platform, we tend to negotiate that we get a slightly lower price compared to what they sell within their stores and the likes. So that's one thing that we try and achieve, which is what gives us an edge. Hence the numbers we have.
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
Yes.
I think that's really amazing because it's like Temu, right?
Mhm.
So Temu able to make things very affordable. Yeah,
Yes.
that's how it breaks into new markets and disrupts things
Mhm.
so fast. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm just curious. So then, what tools, systems, or investments have made the biggest difference in your operation so far? Yeah, it can be a system, can be a
Mhm.
tool, can be all assets, as you say.
Yeah. We really have restructured the entire outlook of how our system looks like. Remember, I'd mentioned to you that initially we had everything bundled up together, but right now we've broken it down into an 11 tier. So we have the social commerce, which then allows vendors within our platform to be able to now sell on social media, right? They can sync products cross platforms within our platform, right? Which then that gives us an edge into the social marketplace and the likes. But then there's also the bit where we are trying to get, we piloted this, but not fully, uh, where we are trying to get people to create virtual stores and sell products that belong to other vendors, right? And then that would then generate for us the kind of traffic we would have not been able to afford in terms of us spending on advertisements and the likes, right? So there's that bit of thinking. So we've just tried breaking down. Remember, we had to build into one and then now break down into several different structures. Then gain something out of it. So that's one. We had investments 2022, 2023. The ones that I was telling you was a very bad idea. From an angel investor, that's a very bad idea. But I'm currently trying to figure out whether we can be able to raise. We are trying to see whether we can do at least a $3 million ticket. I don't know how that would be possible, but currently most of the tickets we have here are between 500 to about $1 million or so. So let's figure out whether we can split three people to give us different tickets likes, yeah, without really diluting the company as such. So we are trying to do that. Um, we are currently in the process of establishing human resource, because it's one of the things that I've realized makes the product move, as opposed to having the money, having one of a kind system and the likes. The human resource bit is a missing puzzle,
Yep.
the missing piece of the puzzle. So we are really trying to establish that bit, and that's what we are working on tirelessly as we speak. Yes.
Yeah, as of right now, right?
Yes.
Especially because you need to not just operating the current system, but also need to take care of riders, and also people
Yes.
who need to take care of vendors, building their relationships.
Yes.
And I can see that how
Absolutely.
important HR will be creating the critical role of pulling everything together.
Yes.
It felt like the
Yes.
kind of thing, right? Like pulling everything together. Yeah.
Correct.
And what's the next stage of growth, look like for PLAT-DEL? Is it expanding to more countries or expanding to more categories beyond what we have you have been doing so far, other than by hailing?
On a regular basis, we tend to do feasibility study for different areas and different product lines. We've done multiple product lines. We were trying to get into the liquor space. We've tried getting into the pet store space. Um, we've tried getting into the beauty product space. So those ones are feasibility studies. Those are now they're called what? The horizontal growth. We're just expanding what we are offering within the platform.
Yep.
But then our 10-year plan is to be in 44 countries in Africa. We
Wow.
want to create that cross-border marketplace where we can be able to, cross-trade. So currently, I have mentioned to you that we've entered Tanzania. It took us more than a year to get licenses. So I thought Kenya was worse. They are equally as bad as we are in terms of processes of acquisition of licenses and the likes. So it has taken us that long. But then we want to see whether we can do Rwanda, whether we can do Uganda, whether we can do Ethiopia and the likes, because those places at least they have unified payment platforms that we are using here. So we don't really need to, reinvent or restructure. We just need to just expand the API level and then get to those areas, and then maybe look for the licenses. So that's our short-term continental growth and the long-term continental growth. So the short term is these few countries that we already have. Long term is 44, which is a 10-year plan.
That that makes sense because you're just sharing the same infrastructure, right?
Yes.
Everything that
Yes.
change, the only variable that change is probably the riders, and
The currency.
yeah, the currency, a
Yes.
little bit of the licensing, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, but everything else should stay, as long as the price of petrol does not increase so much, or right. That makes so much sense. Yeah, for you to grow like vertically like that. And then what's
Absolutely.
the biggest operational challenges you're trying to solve right now? Is it the HR, or in terms of operational, is it something else?
Mostly HR and of course raising capital. Like I'd mentioned, running such a business requires quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
I know you in business, so you know how hectic it is to constantly, every time it gets to 29th of every month, you're trying to find a place to scratch your head. So those two bits are things that we would want to be able to solve. The human resource, which then would then demand adequate financial capital. So those are some of the things that we're trying to, work our way around. Yes.
I see. Would you think like the riders, or actually you don't, from what I understand, you don't really own the bikes, right? You say you don't buy the
No,
assets.
we don't.
Yeah, so it's
No, we
more
don't.
on the how to say, the operational variables. Then that's what you have to deal
In-house.
with.
In-house operations. Yes.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Makes sense. All right. So
Mhm.
as somebody, as you know, has been through so much yourself, what advice
Yes.
would you give to other founders or maybe other prospect founders who are going to build logistic and commerce platforms, or similar sorts in Africa?
There are quite a number of things, but then let me speak of the basis of them, the foundational basis of them. I think the tenacity, you need to be able to continually psych yourself to be able to, stay through the hurdles. Like I'd mentioned, there are quite a number of problems here, be it governmental issues, be it the compliance, be it inadequate access to finances and the likes. It becomes a bit hard to be able to, start something and get it running quick, which I know most founders really like. We like building something now and we want it on the market quick, fast,
Yeah.
which is practically very, very hard. So you need to develop that level of patience whenever you're building for Africa. Two, um, you will get a lot of no's, especially when you're trying to raise money. Yeah, you most definitely will get a lot of no's, especially if you're trying to, get people to believe in what you're doing. So I think one of the things that new founders should be able to do is to figure out the minimum bit that you need to do just to be able to validate your idea. Provided you're able to validate the idea, you're good to go. You're good to go. It will make it a bit more easy for you to build in Africa. And three, the third bit, you need to understand how Africans behave. The faster you understand the behavior of different countries, the easier it is. A place like Kenya, people accept tech very easily. You'd come up with the most simplest model of tech, and they will actually accept it. We are the most, agreeable people you can ever imagine, right? So figure out where you're starting, and one of the things that I will tell you, if you succeed in the Kenyan market, there is no other place you won't succeed. It makes it a bit more easy to succeed in other places if you do here. So I would advocate that you pilot in Kenya and then figure out how to get support, because you have quite a number of support. The fourth thing would be find people you can work with. We have so many accelerator programs that some of them are free. They would give you an office space. Some of them would give you, that access to, collaborating power, etc., etc. But it's good for you to find someone you can be able to work with or work with that would then make it easy for you to get into the market. Yeah.
Wow, so nice of you. So the four advisors. Hopefully, audiences of today has been able to learn so much from the very wise
Awesome.
Washington Mageto. Yeah, so that's going to be the end of session today. So I hope
Okay.
that everybody is able to learn. The one thing that I can take away myself is that it's
Mhm.
if I were to build a business, I'll start in Kenya, right? So thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Thank you so much for your time. Hope you have a great day ahead, everybody. Yeah.